Welcome to the seventh session of this module 3. Here, actually, we will be studying the various factors which influence on the performance of a solar collector. In the previous session, actually, we have discussed the various performance factors of solar collectors, and we have also discussed different types of losses that might take place. That is, a side loss, or it may be a bottom loss, or it may be a top loss. Out of which we have found that the top loss is the one predominant one which is being compared to the side and bottom losses. It is only because the side and bottom losses have been insulated with some insulating materials. So hence the losses which does takes place on the bottom side of the solar collectors as well as on the side part of the solar collectors is been less compared to the top, whereas the top losses, it is only majorly because of convection and radiation effects that we have arrived with certain equations, and we have also discussed few of those losses, how it can be expressed numerically and how it can be compensated also. Okay, we have all done this exercise in order to find out the best efficiency of a solar panel systems. Okay, now if you consider the factors which majorly influence the collector performance, the factors affect the efficiency of the performance of the collector as the water rate of flow, selective coatings of the front surface of the absorber, heat losses by convection and radiation, and then the surface absorptivity of the surfaces. So there are other factors also which influence majorly on the efficiency or the performance of the solar collectors. It may be the absorptive coatings, what we, even in the yesterday we have discussed, a nickel or chrome coating will be done. That is, a metal coating will be done in order to uh, absorb the maximum solar radiations which are falling onto the absorber surface. And we have also discussed the heat losses which takes place by the top surface by convection radiation. They perform the maximum influence on the performance of the solar collectors. Major parameters that affect the performance of the solar collector are absorptivity and emissivity of absorber. That is the major one, technically speaking. Emissivity of the glass cover is also plays one of the major role. It is only because as much as the absorber absorbs the solar radiation, so much of energy will be utilized, so much of energy will be available for the conversion. Even we have discussed yesterday, the efficiency formula is always given by the how much energy has been converted to the ratio of how much the maximum energy which is available. Is it clear? QL QU divided by A into QL, that is what we have taken it. Is it QL or AC into GD, that is what we have taken as an efficiency formula. Obviously then it is directly proportional to the absorptivity and emissivity of the absorber, and then the glass cover what we are placing, you can take the number of plates which we are going to cover it, or we can also take it as emissivity of the glass, or any cover which we are going to place it on the top of the collector, and then the temperature of the absorber plate. Obviously absorber plays a very major role. To be frank, it is also called as the heart of a system. Is it? The collector tilt angle. The collector tilt angle, as we have discussed, it should be less within the 15 degrees. Okay, tilt angles and the number of glass covers also plays a very major role. All the affecting factors are analyzed numerically, and graphs can be plotted how they vary the performance of the collectors. That is very important. Is it clear? So on what factors does this collector efficiency of a solar basically depends upon? It is also depends upon the inlet and outlet water temperatures, and the increase in temperature difference negatively affects the efficiency. It should be a predominant one. Okay, the important one of the factors of the collector efficiency is being given place is the difference between the inlet and outlet temperatures. How it can be improved? It is only by improving giving an increasing the solar selective absorber. That is what I was talking about, selective surfaces. What do you mean by the selective surfaces? Selective surfaces are the one preparing the absorber or the collector's area or the absorber area such that it should collect, it should be exposed to maximum solar radiations. Is it clear? That is the idea behind of it. The absorbed solar energy is transferred to a fluid passing in contact with its absorber plate. Other factors affect the efficiency of the collector as the water rate of flow, selective coatings of the front surface of the absorber, heat losses by convection and radiation, and the surface absorptivity of the surface. The surface absorptivity also plays a very major role. The main parameters affecting the performance of a solar collector are the area of the absorber plate, and absorber absorptivity and emissivity, as I have already discussed, and emissivity of the glass cover. It should have a lower emissivity so that it should allow the solar radiations to pass through it. Then the absorber plate temperature and the tilt angles on which we are placing the collector. Usually the normal conventional way of keeping the tilting of this collector angles, it is one is angle and the direction is always towards south. It is advisable. Whether south or north is okay, but south is advisable. Okay, and number of glasses that we are placing it as a solar collector covers. Basically we keep minimum of 1 and maximum of 3, but there should be a considerable distance between each glass covers should be maintained. The important factor that affect flat plate collector efficiency for a given place is the difference between inlet and outlet temperature of the waters or the any fluid. Okay, the increase in temperature difference negatively affects the efficiency. Despite all the development, many environmental factors affect the performance of solar cell. These include temperature. Obviously the temperature is one major factor actually, and then the humidity and wind velocity, light intensity, altitude and air pressure. These are the few environmental factors which we cannot control. So certain things which we cannot control, we always call it as a noise factors. Basically we always call it as a noise factors because we will not have a control on these things, because the temperature of we cannot control it, humidity that we cannot control it, wind velocity we cannot control it, and light intensity, of course, altitude or any air pressure. Say for example during the rainy seasons, what happens, there will be a wind will be blowing with certain velocity. If wind is blowing, what is happening is whatever the temperature, it just takes away. That is what we were talking about, the convection losses. Is it clear? And the light intensity is also very important. If it is a cloudy, then the light intensity will be very less. In case of a lower light intensity, how can we expect the temperature of the absorber to increase? As we have discussed in the previous point, absorber temperature is also one of the factors which affect the performance. In such cases, if the light intensity is not there, then definitely it will affect the absorber plate temperature. In other words, it affects the performance of the collectors. Water is considered in the present study as a working fluid. It is only because we were talking about water heating system. The other factors affect the efficiency of the collector as the water rate of flow, selective coatings of the front surface of the observer, heat losses by convection and radiation. Repeatedly we just highlight this, and surface absorptivity of surface. Basically, collector orientation. What do you mean by this collector orientation? Now, collector orientation is nothing but on what direction is the best for the solar panels. You might have anywhere, you cannot see the solar panels to be a horizontal one, or it is maybe perpendicularly like this. It is only the reason because the solar radiations which are falling during the morning time or in the evening time will not effectively fall onto the solar panels. Only if it is an incline like this. So it will be maximum amount of solar panels. It is only by the research they have come across with that. Basically, the traditional advice is to position the solar panels to be in the south facing. This is because those of us living in the northern hemisphere, the sun is always along the southern part of the sky as we complete our yearly orbit around. So that is the reason why in most of the cases they suggest us to position in the south directions. If the people who are living in the northern hemisphere, then it is always advised to uh, in the southern hemisphere they are been advised to incline it towards the north direction. Okay, now if you ask me why do the solar panels need a face of south, if that is the thing, if you take a roof of any southern part of the southern part of the houses, the pointing them southward maximizes the production overall, but peak production comes at midday, not in late afternoon. So in such cases, it is always advisable to face towards the southern directions. The five elements which are very much important for a passive solar design, it constitutes of a complete and successful passive solar home design. It is an aperture or a collector, and then the absorber, and the hard and dark surface of the wall, and thermal mass, actually a material that retains and stores the heat, and then the distribution of the heat, that is also one of the major important. The maximum annual energy, the collector should be tilted towards equator, that is towards the south in the northern hemisphere and in the north for the southern hemisphere. The traditional advice is to position, that is the south facing, that is what the people suggested. Okay, this is because of we have already discussed. So the solar hot water collectors should be oriented geographically to maximize the amount of daily and seasonal solar energy that they receive it. In general, the optimum orientation for a collector in the northern hemisphere is a true south. If it is a northern hemisphere, we have to place it in the south direction. If it is a southern hemisphere, then we have to face it towards the north directions. That is what. A few of the angles describes the orientation of the collector surface and the relation of the collector surface to the sun. We have discussed already few angles like zenith angle, azimuth angle, altitude angle and latitude angles. These are the few of the angles which have been discussed when we are talking about collector surface of the sun. As these three angles describe our primary surface of the interest, the uh, the orientation of these collectors do not have a subscript for the two coordinate angles of the collector's tilt and the collector's azimuth angles. So the tilt, actually the angles between the plane of the collector or the aperture and the horizontal surface is denoted by a symbol of beta. This is called as a tilt angle that I can show it to you here in this. This is what is a beta. It's a tilt angle. Now you can see this is a solar panel angle and this is a tilt angle, and it is towards south, as you can see it here. It is tilted towards the south, and this tilting from the ground level for the horizontal level to the tilting up to which we are increasing, that is what we call it as the tilting angle. Now if you consider the other angle, that is the azimuth angle. Azimuth angle, it's a planar rotation east or west that an aperture will have, denoted by a symbol gamma with no subscripts. Actually it's a gamma only. And then the angle of now you can see this azimuth angle. Now this is the azimuth angle which is indicated by orange color. This is the solar radiations which are falling onto this with respect to the horizontal plane. That is what we call it as an azimuth angle. Actually no, I'm so sorry, azimuth angle is something which it is making with the horizontal surface. This is called as azimuth angle. Now this is an altitude angle. Altitude angle, as I have already told you, altitude angle will be 0 in the sunrise. As the sunrise keeps increasing, the altitude angle keeps increasing. That is denoted by alpha. It is actually the solar radiations which are falling onto the solar panel with respect to the horizontal plane. That is what we call it as an altitude angle. Azimuth angle is the one which makes azimuth angle is the one between the sunlight towards due to north of the sensors. That is what we have just discussed. In this, azimuth angle is the planar rotation east or west that an aperture will have, denoted by the symbol of gamma. Now that means that this is east and west. The horizontal angle, as you can see this, the panel is over here. You can make out with a black color line which has been drawn over here. From this object towards the east to the west, whatever the horizontal angle on the horizontal plane it is making it, so that is what we call it as an azimuth angle. Basically this azimuth angle does varies between 0 degrees to 180 degrees. Zero origin faces the equator, whereas the east is positive, west is taken as a negative angle. If you take an angle of incidence, this angle of incidence varies between 0 to 90 degrees. Is that clear? Now if I want to talk about a zenith angle, must have a positive and it should be between 90 to 180 degrees. Okay, this is the idea behind of these things. Now if you want to talk about the angle of incidence, the angle of between the vector perpendicular to the collector plane called as the normal to the plane and the projection of the sun's central beam to the collector surface, and this angle of incidence does varies between the 0 to 90 degrees. Now you can see it here. This is the angle of incidence. You can see this is the angle of incidence. The solar radiations which are falling onto the normal surface is what we call it as an angle of incidence, and then denoted as theta with no substitutes. Okay, that is what. Okay, these are all the different angles which are related to this. Now the normal to this surface is been with the same inclination of this beta, and this normal radiations which are falling onto the solar radiations keeps varying as the sun traces from east to the west. Now in this, for the general cases, the collector has a non-horizontal orientations, that is the beta will not be is equal to 0. The angle of incidence is not as the same as the zenith angle. This is what I was just talking about. Zenith angle is entirely different than the incident angles. In fact, the zenith angle is a special case of an angle of incidence for horizontal surfaces, where the zenith is referred to the aperture as a normal projection. If that is the case, the angle of theta is given by sine of phi into sine delta into cos beta minus of cos of phi into sine delta sine beta and cos gamma. We have come across with all the angles: azimuth angle, declination angle, tilted angle, and then the zenith angle. We have taken all the angles over here. I mean to say that azimuth angle, tilted angle, and then we have also taken the altitude angles also come into picture over here, plus cos alpha, cos delta, cos beta and cos omega, and plus sin phi, sin cos delta and sin omega, sin beta, cos delta and cos omega, plus cos delta, sin beta, sin omega into sin delta. So it is only with respect to the sin and cos. Now majorly it is only, we can further simplify it also by dividing it by sin phi, so that we will get a cot factors or a tan factors, but it is always oriented towards the sin and cos. It is only because when we resolve the forces towards the horizontal we get the cos factors, and when we resolve the forces towards the y factor we get the sign by resolving the forces. In order to generate an actual value for theta, we will need to also take the arc cosine of a long equation. For your calculators and the math programs, all of the arguments are in terms of degrees, not in radians. That is the reason why actually even in your calculator you will have two options. One is using in radians and the other one is optionally using in terms of theta. It is in degrees, so we can select that. However, this is a really long equation that can actually be broken down into parts. We will break up the equation. The above equation can be break down for an angle of incidence theta. Angle of incidence theta and phi into three lines. Take just with the cos theta is equal to same sin phi into sin delta into cos beta minus cos phi sin delta sin beta with a similar one. Okay. And then what do you mean by the fluid inlet temperature of the solar collector? Solar water heating collector have a metal tubes attached to the absorber. Metal tubes attached to the absorber, and these metal tubes are in most of the cases made up of aluminum as well as copper tubes. Okay, now these have been sealed with the absorber plates, and this can be maybe because of soldering or a brazing, or it may be a welding or any usually we will not go for welding because it is not a ferrous metals. Is it clear? The heat transfer fluid is pumped through the absorber tubes to remove the heat from the absorber and transfer the heat to the water in a storage tank. It is a normal one. Okay. Then if the air temperature rises, the air density decreases. Obviously, it is not only air, even if you consider the water also, whenever we say the temperature of the fluid has been increased, that means its density decreases. It is inversely proportional, and that air takes up more space. Once the air is been taken heat, its density decreases. In a common sense, in the general sense, air density has been decreased means its weight has been reduced. When the weight has been reduced, it becomes light, so it will go to the higher positions with more space requirement. That is what an idea behind of it. So whether it may be air or it may be water, it happens to be same. Because the air compressors can only intake a fixed volume of air, a decreased density results in less air within the system. Okay, now let me come to the important topic as a sky angles. The sky angles is one important factor that decides the amount of top losses which has been happened by the convection and radiation. Maybe yesterday in the previous class we were discussing, we have derived a few equations which are related to the convection and radiation, especially when we are talking about a radiation which is taking place at the outermost layer of the covering which is being placed on the collectors, will be with respect to the sky temperatures. Imagining an angle in the sky, there are 360 degrees in a circle or a sphere. Each degree is divided into 60 minutes. Obviously 1 degree is divided into 60 minutes, and each arc minute is further divided into 60 seconds. Imagine the sky as a big hollow sphere with the earth at its center. Let's call this as a celestial sphere we call it. This sphere is always will have a 360 degrees. Is that clear? That is what we call it as the sky angles. Adding backgrounds using sky angles and color, the first sky color is the north pole, and the remaining sky colors are being given by the sky angles. Is that clear? Now how do we measure this? Raise your 3 middle fingers to measure 5 degrees. Clench your fist and hold your hand like a policeman. Stop traffic to a degrees of 10 degrees. Then stretch your thumb to a little finger as wide as you can. Then to measure the 20 degrees. So this will measure the 20 degrees. See, this is an idea behind of the sky angles. Sky angle is a different one, and then the maximum horizon angle will be a different one. The radiation heat transfer from the plate to sky accounts for radiation exchange with the sky at sky temperature. Is that clear? Now T is rather than the ambient temperature TA. TA is something which is an ambient temperature. If you consider this as a orientation, or this is a solar collector, the air which is being surrounded by this, we always consider it as a surrounding temperature. If I am inside the room, I always consider this as a my surrounding temperature. I am not bothered what is happening in the space. But what happens when we are talking about solar systems, we have to concentrate on the sky temperature which is happening at the terrestrial region. Is it clear? The sky can be considered as a black body at some equivalent sky temperature Ts to account for the facts that atmosphere is not a uniform temperature. Atmosphere cannot be of the uniform temperature. The temperature over here will be different than the temperature above the mountain. The same temperature above or under the caves will be a different temperature. Even in the open land it will be different temperature. The temperature above the water tanks is different temperature. So we cannot assume, we cannot consider that for the radiation losses. So what we do it is we take a spatial temperature, that is what we call it as a sky temperature. Okay, now Ts to account for the facts that the atmosphere is not a uniform temperature and that the atmosphere radiates only in certain wavelength band. It can be calculated using the equations which has been given out here. T of S is nothing but the sky temperature, whereas TA is atmospheric temperature. By there is no derivation for you people as such now. By standard research, we have arrived this TA into 0.711 plus 0.0056 into T of dP plus 0.0040 of 73, and then T square of dP plus 0.013 into cos of 15T whole to the power of 1 by 4. That is the fourth root. It just comes out here. Whereas the T is nothing but the hour from midnight. From the midnight, if it is a midnight 1 o'clock, then it is nothing but 1. If it is a morning 6 o'clock, then the T will be in 6 o'clock. Okay, Ts and Ta are the degrees in kelvins, and Tdp is nothing but the dew point temperature in degrees Celsius. A dew point temperature in degrees Celsius. Dew point temperature is different than the dry bulb temperature. There are measuring different types of temperatures are also there. One is the dry bulb temperature and the wet bulb temperature. Okay, similarly we also have a dew point temperature. So this is nothing but a dew point temperature which we are just considering it for the calculation of the sky temperature. Okay, basically what is this dew point temperature? A dew point temperature is nothing but temperature to which air must be cooled to become saturated with water vapor. When cooled further, the airborne water will condenses. That is what an idea behind of a dew temperature. Or it can also be defined as the water vapor in a volume of air at a constant pressure will condense into liquid water. It is the temperature at which the air is saturated with moisture. Air must be cooled. Is that clear? So that is what we call it as the dew point temperature. Basically, this dew point temperature is a temperature that air must be cooled before dew or frost begins to form. Is also measured an amount of. Therefore, knowing the dew point gives an idea of how moist or how dry the air is. If it is a dry, we will come to know. If it is a moist also, we will come to know. So what we will do it is, if you take this as a measuring thermometer or any instrument which is being used to measure it, so it will be condensed or it has been cooled before freezing or before frozen. So that point or that temperature, we call it as the dew point temperature. That will be in terms of degree Celsius, whereas the TS and TD have been measured in terms of degree Kelvins. Okay. Now this is the fourth order. This is how we can find out the sky temperature. Dew point temperature we can find out easily. There are instruments which are available to find out the dew point temperature. This is what all about sky temperatures.